Ready to go live? All right, at this time I call to order Planning and Zoning Board meeting, City of Lake City. The date is March the 5th, 2024. At this time, will all please rise for the pledge and the invocation. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Nelson, the invocation if you would.
Please bow your heads. Lord, thank you for your grace and mercy. Bless our deliberations this day. Give us wisdom to make sound recommendations. We ask for these blessings in your name, Lord. Amen.
You may be seated. Mr. Angelo, will you please call the roll of attendees?
Ms. McCollum?
Here.
Mr. Nelson?
Here.
Mr. Mann?
Here.
And Mr. Leidig?
Present. All right, a quorum being in attendance, we will continue. We have a number of meeting minutes to take care of from previous sessions. First of these will be from our specially called Planning and Zoning meeting from January the 10th, 2024. These minutes were distributed electronically. I trust all members of the board have had a chance to look them over. At this time, are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes as presented?
No.
Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion for their adoption?
Move to adopt, please.
Second. Nelson and Ms. McCallum. All in favor, hand sign. Aye. Hands down. Likewise opposed. All right, we have meeting minutes approved unanimously for January 10th. Moving forward, the following week we had a second specially called Planning and Zoning meeting, that being 1/17/2024. Likewise, those meeting minutes were distributed electronically. I trust all members had a chance to look those over. This time, are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes as presented? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion for their adoption?
Move to approve the minutes of 1/17/24.
Second.
McMahon, Nelson with the second. All in favor, hand sign. Hands down, likewise opposed. Unanimously, we have meeting minutes from 1/17, specially called Planning and Zoning meeting, approved. This time we'll move to our most recent regularly scheduled meeting, that being February the 6th, 2024. Likewise, those meeting minutes were distributed electronically for all to review. At this time, do we have any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes as electronically submitted? Hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion for their adoption?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Kellum and McMahon on the second by hand vote. Aye, hands down, likewise opposed. All right, unanimously, we have approved almost 2 months worth of minutes. Very nice. Moving forward, we have old business, this being CPA 23-06 and Z 23-07. These are petitions submitted by David Weinsberg, owner, to amend future land use map and official zoning atlas of the land development regulations, City of Lake City, by changing future land use from residential medium to residential high density, and changing zoning district from residential single family 3 to residential multifamily 1, and residential multifamily 2, on property described as follows. Columbia County parcels 11602-002, 11642-000. Before we begin, as this is old business, did this get continued or tabled from a previous meeting? Do we have to hold a vote to bring this back out in the open? Or was this due to an absence?
I'm not sure exactly how it was continued from the previous meeting, so that was it tabled or was it just continued to a future meeting?
Would you care to swear?
It was continued to a future meeting,
Okay.
because all the criteria of the application was met.
Then it would just appear on the agenda as old business from a prior meeting.
Okay.
Would you care, since he's a city employee, would you mind oathing him for me, please?
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Alright, so this is CPA 23-06 and Z 23-07. They are looking to rezone the parcels from, some of it is residential single family 3, and some of it is residential multifamily 1. They want to bring it all to one single zoning, which would be residential multifamily 2. The comp plan amendment would be going from residential medium density, allowing 8 dwelling units per acre, to residential high, which would allow for 20 dwelling units per acre. That would that density then would match the residential multifamily, and the land would be conducive for use for apartment complex, which is what they're potentially wanting to put there.
All right, anything else? All right, any questions for Mr. Angelo from members of the board? You may be seated.
Mr. Chair, before we proceed, I neglected to check and make sure that there were no ex parte communications on this particular issue. For the record, have any of the board members had any ex parte communications regarding CPA 2306 and Z 2307?
Starting at my far right, Mr. Nelson?
None.
None.
Thank you.
Very nice.
I do have one other thing to add to the packet. The applicant submitted the certified letters to us. It was after the fact, after we posted it to the agenda, because we posted it early. So he got those to us, so I will introduce those into evidence as Exhibit A. And then they also emailed a PDF that he's gonna pull up and kind of go over whenever he's presenting the project. I'm gonna do that as Exhibit B.
All right. So noted for the record. All right, at this time, do we have Mr. David Winsberg as owner or agent thereof to come and speak on behalf of these 2 joint petitions?
Yes. Yeah, I'm the owner of the 2 parcels.
You swear the testimony you're about to give before the board this evening, to the best of your knowledge, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Very nice. Name and legal address and record with spelling for Mr. Angelo.
David Winsberg, DAVID-WINSBERG. P.O. Box 2815, Lake City, Florida 32056. Thank you.
All right, tell us what you'd like to accomplish this evening, please.
Okay, so I realize that this is just a rezoning application and that this is not a site plan approval, but I don't know what happened here. Okay, so these are, I am planning on submitting a site plan, assuming my zoning is approved. This is one preliminary idea for the north part of the property. You can see that I'm looking to put in on the north side about 100 residential units. And then on the south side, this would be about 35 residential units, and this is one possible layout. That's just for the south, and the previous one was to the north. Try to go to the next one here.
Try it one more time.
Okay, this is another option, another possibility. You can see it's similar, and these are just preliminary site plans. And then this is another option for the south portion of the lot. And then this is a third alternative. And so these are some things that might possibly be, the design would be similar to one of these 3. Ideally, obviously, be a lot more detailed than this. And that's the south part. And that's kind of what I'm looking to do. Right now, I can't put any apartment buildings on the west parcel because it is not RMF, it's RSF. And so I would like to get it rezoned and actually get both of them rezoned in order to be able to submit a site plan next, because currently, the current zoning will not permit it.
Anything else?
I can address some other issues, answer other questions if anyone has them.
Anything else for the proponent? time being, you may be seated. All right, so I see a lot of people in the room. Is this the one y'all are here for? At this time, is there anyone else that would like to speak either for or against petition CPA 23-06 or Z 23-07? If so, please signal with a raising of the hand. Okay, so we're not all here for that one. Do you promise the testimony you're about to give before the board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Best I can.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Sylvester Warren III, 930 Northeast, Joe Coney Terrace. Mr. Chair, I only have one question. I'm just curious as to the location of the property. The location of the property. A question.
Yeah, this will be along Early Avenue with the ends of the streets intersecting at 441 and Bascom Norris.
441 in Baskin Norris. Oh, by Cedar Park?
Other side of 441.
You know, the other side of 441. In between, where you got Bascom Norris comes into 441, be to the south of Bascom Norris, north of Early Street. And then I think it's what, Froney Street or whatever, it's right over there on the side.
That's
I
right.
can remember the name of it.
From, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
to the west side of.
Oh, you talking about back up in the hole, back there on the backside of Cedar Park, what we call the hole. That's what you talking about it? Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
All right, is there anyone else in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition CPA 23-06 or Z 23-07? Hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Second.
Nelson and McMahon by hand sign. Aye. Hands down, likewise opposed. All right, at this time, public comment is closed on these two petitions. Discussion amongst members of the board and city departments. Anyone have anything on this?
Can we get him back? I did have a question for the proponent,
Oh,
based on what the city said. So,
hold on. All right, we got you on mic now. I remind you, you are still under oath.
Okay.
I don't have the page number, but at one point with the city reviewing all of the environmental and all that stuff, there was a concern about the traffic on Early Street.
Right, and
It said 1,000 cars a day.
yes, and so that would be an increase on what's already allowed, because if I was to develop it as a subdivision, I think I could put about 400 on it per day, so that's an increase of be about 600 trips per day. I looked into the LDR and the comp plan, and I don't, from what I can tell, the city does not have any standards for that kind of a street. I mean, they do have for some of the arterial maps, but I haven't seen any standards as far as I can tell. Like I'm looking at the future transportation map here, and they have highlighted the ones that they have level service standards for, and it's only for the main roads, not for small roads
So
like
it's
that.
like a residential street.
Yes, it is.
So do we have any comment from Robert or Mr. Young? There was a concern at some point in there with the review about the cars.
At this time, we don't have any comment because it is just for rezoning. As we get into the site plan, we would look more into, you know, what the requirements for like turn lanes and things like that. From that point.
Thank you.
And that being said, as we move from just the zoning and the CPA side of this into site plan review, if it does, come up when the full-blown transportation analysis is conducted. This is obviously a scalable project. If there was a need to diminish some of the amount of traffic impact that was going on to this road, what you're showing us in this PDF is the maximum amount of future desired condition on your part?
Pretty much. In order to get more than that, I have to make you need more parking, and then in order to meet LDR requirements for parking, and then I'd have to make the buildings higher, which makes the
Well,
Cost.
by scalable, I meant it can also be dropped down.
Oh,
if
yes.
It's a certain traffic threshold.
Oh, yes,
This is the maximum you would do, but if necessary, it could be scaled back.
yes, it could be scaled
To
back.
accommodate the traffic on these
Yes.
smaller roads.
Yes, it could be. Agreed. And also, like you said, turning lanes, this doesn't show any turning lanes, those could be added in as well, if that city required it.
You may be seated. Anything else for city departments or discussion amongst the board? I do see the note here that the property is not contiguous to an RMF 2, however, we do have multifamily in the immediate adjacent adjoining vicinity, so it wouldn't necessarily create a zoning island per se, as there is RMF adjacent to this RMF, it's just a difference between a 1 and a 2. I saw you referenced it in your planning and zoning notes for the staff review. Does that give the city any heartburn? I mean, it's not
No, but it
creating a
is
zoning
contiguous.
island or a zoning donut per se, it's a 1 next to a 2, but it's all RMF, right?
Yeah, it's all RMF, so it's still multifamily. The only difference is 8 dwelling units versus 20 dwelling units. It's just the density that you can put there. And so multifamily is already allowable there.
Anything else? All right, hearing and seeing nothing else at this time, do we have a motion to either approve, disapprove, or table petition CPA 23-06 and jointly petition Z 23-07?
Mr. Chair, procedurally, it would, the rezoning would be conditioned upon approval of the comprehensive plan amendment, and so.
You'd like to take them one at a time?
Take them one at a time, comp plan amendment first, and then assuming it passes, then the rezoning.
All right. That being said, at this time, do we have a motion to either approve, disapprove, or table petition CPA 23-06 as a standalone petition?
I'll move to approve CPA 23-06.
Ma'am? And Mr. Nelson on the second. Mr. Angelo, at this time, will you call the yeas and the nays of the present board members?
Ms. McCollum,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Rand,
Yes.
and Mr. Carter, or Mr. Lighty.
Yay. Don't put me on the council quite yet. All right, unanimously, we have recommended approval of CPA 23-06. At this time, do we have a motion to approve, disapprove, or table separate petition Z 23-07 as submitted by owner?
Move to approve Z 23-07.
And McCollum with the second. Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum, Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Rand,
Yes.
and Mr. Lighty.
Yay. Very nice, unanimously petition CPA 23-06 and Z 23-07 have been approved and moved to their next step in the process, which would be site plan review. Thank you. Congratulations. Seeing and hearing no additional old business, we'll move into our new business. First petition of new business. Petition SPR 24-03, petition submitted by Michael Wagner, acting as agent for WPG Lake City LLC. Site plan review for Wawa, in the commercial intensive zoning district located upon parcels 06185-000 and 06233-000, as regulated by Land Development Regulations, City of Lake City, Section 4.13.
Mr. Chair, the same inquiry, and we can do both of the next two items at the same time as far as ex parte communications. If any of the board members have had ex parte communications with anyone regarding SPR 24-03 or SPR 24-02, if they could so disclose and indicate which application it's applicable to.
Nothing other than my role as chair, trying to help get an agenda put together.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very nice. I remind you, you're still under oath, Mr. Angelo. Tell us about SPR 24-03.
Alright, so this is SPR 24-03, and it's for parcels 06185-000 and parcel 06233-000. It is a site plan review for Wawa. They are looking to put a automotive self-service station there, and that which would be permitted by use under section 4.12.2.17. And any uses that are allowable in the commercial general are also allowable in the commercial intensive area. So that would make it conducive. And they did rezone this property and annex one of the parcels into the city. And so all that is done and taken care of. And now they're ready to move forward with their site plan.
How many years ago was that?
Just recently, just last year.
Anything from Mr. Angelo? All right, this time you may be seated. All right, at this time, would the agent of the proponent, Mr. Wagner, please come to the podium? You swear testimony you're about to give before the board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, and my name is Brandon Stubbs. I'm with North Florida Professional Services, and I've been retained by the property owner to represent them tonight. And my address is 1450 Southwest State Road 47, Lake City, Florida. The request tonight is for a plus or minus 5,900 square foot automotive self-service station. Most of y'all know it's a Wawa. It will have about 8 gas pumps, and it'll have parking, stormwater management facilities, landscaping, and other amenities. This property is located on US 90. It's on the south side of US 90, across from the ABC store, where the old I-75 auto used to be. It also backs up and wraps around the backside of the Cedar River Seafood, and has utility connections and driveway connections along Sisters Welcome Road. The parcel consists of about 6.48 acres, and it currently has a commercial future land use map designation and a commercial intensive zone district. As Mr. Angelo said, all the uses that are allowed within the commercial general are allowed within the commercial intensive zone district, and so therefore, by proxy, the automotive self-service station is allowed by right. The current and existing future land use map designations around the property are all commercial. You got commercial to the north, Columbia County commercial to the south, and Columbia County commercial to the east and west, as well as city commercial, as well as commercial intensive zoning to the north, commercial intensive zoning to the south, and city and county commercial intensive zoning to the east and west. As part of the analysis and part of the environmental that was done, we look at things like wetlands, flood zones, things that could impact the site. Now, we all know that this site is currently completely developed, so this is a redevelopment of the entire site. Everything will be demolished and rebuilt, so nothing on this current site will stay. It'll all be demolished and removed, but currently, according to the National Wetlands Inventory and Wetland Survey, there are no wetlands located on the site. Likewise, there is no flood zones, according to the FEMA maps 0291D and 0292D. Further, the subject property has soils that are suitable for development, as it's already covered, it's already existing, developed. This is a redevelopment site. This property is not located within a stream or sink area. There's no issues with minerals or historic preservation. Again, this is a redevelopment. The site is not historic. As far as traffic impacts, if there's a traffic study that was submitted, as well as a traffic analysis within my staff report. And as you can see, that even with the proposed generated traffic, that level of service will not be impacted or will not be degraded once this site is redeveloped. As far as potable water, sanitary sewer impacts, they will connect to potable water and sanitary sewer through the city of Lake City. There's ample capacity. They will be extending the lines from Southwest Sisters Welcome Road onto the site. So that will actually be beneficial to the city as well as the applicant. And that kind of completes my staff report. There is a comprehensive plan analysis that was submitted as well. And I would like to enter the applicant's submittal as well as my staff report, comprehensive plan analysis, into the record as competent substantial evidence that we have met the code requirements for the city of Lake City. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you'll have at this point.
Thank you. At this time, do members of the board have anything for agent of owner? Hearing and seeing none, you may have a seat. I remind you, you are still under oath. All right, let's see if this is the one everyone's here for. By show of hands, anyone gathered here this evening wish to speak either for or against petition SPR 24-03? Please approach. I remind you, you're still under oath.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair and board members, I don't have anything in particular to say about this project, but as we move forward the progress, I want y'all to keep in mind that there's room for certain things out on 90, but I will ask that y'all be very cautious as to decisions that y'all make that will potentially overflood and potentially regentrify the area in which we were born and raised in when you start talking about putting 200 and 300 buildings up there and pushing people out. Zoning it is fine, but when it comes to the process that's coming up next, I want us to be mindful of that moving forward, and that's something that we can, Mr. Larry and Ms. McKellen, I can talk to you all offline about it if you are willing to individually, but I think you see where I'm going with it. Thank you.
You swear the testimony you're about to give before the board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, that's correct.
Very nice.
Barbara Lindley, 393 Northwest Fairway Drive. My question is, where will the entrance and the exits be on this property? I did not pull it up, and that would be my concern if gas stations, people coming and going. Because I know there's a light.
At present, it would appear that there are multiple entrances and egresses, as the proponent had indicated, in addition to using the light there outside of what I believe is a veterinarian's office and
Yes.
the ABC. In addition to using that light, there's also a portion of the parcel that will actually reroute behind the Cedar River Seafood to just on the northern end of Sister Welcome Road, so that you can take advantage of that light as well. So there's actually two different lighted.
You know, my
egresses
concern,
and
if there were
egresses.
several spots to go in and out, has the potential for crunches, car crunches.
This looks like just two controlled entrances and exits, although there are proposed additional cross-access driveways to the adjacent 1.28 acre out parcel as shown in the submittals. This would be page 7 of 48 of the approved methodology appendix.
Okay, Brendan just gave me this, that's my concern, if people drive crazy, and 90 is a busy road. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition SPR 24-03? All right, they're not here for this one either. Hearing and seeing none at this time, do we have a motion to close public comment on this particular petition?
Close public comment on SPR 24.
Nelson with the motion.
Second.
Man with the second, by hand sign? Aye. Hands down. Likewise opposed. All right, at this time, public comment on SPR 24-03 is closed. Discussion amongst members of the board and city departments. No heartburn? Nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable that there's already a light there on 90. I understand 90 is busy, but you have the light already in place. That there,
Two lights. You also have the Sisters Welcome one.
you do. I would hope that that access road needs to be sort of managed very carefully. How the Sisters Welcome. I don't think you'd want to left and then on the Sisters Welcome. That would be a bottleneck. But it's a tight intersection. But I'm comfortable with the traffic light there. It's gonna get some use there.
Mr. Angela, just out of curiosity, as that was a automobile dealership for quite some period of time, are there any issues with underwater or underground tanks there previously existing that will have to be remediated prior to this particular construction?
None that I'm aware of.
Any you think they're gonna find?
Not that I know of.
Brandon Stubbs, representative. During the Alta survey on that property, there were no environmental tanks or any kind of tanks of any sort located on that property. So I think we'd all be surprised because they searched for them, but there was nothing there or discovered. There's nothing with EPA and there's been no EPA issues.
Excellent. All right, anything else amongst members of the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, at this time, do we have a motion to approve, disapprove, or table petition SPR 24-03 as submitted by agent of owner?
Move that we approve SPR 24-03.
Mr. Nelson on the motion. Second. Mr. McMahon on the second. Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yay.
Mr. McMahon?
Yes.
And Mr. Leidy?
Yay. Congratulations, unanimous approval of petition SPR 24-03. Moving forward, our final item of new business for our planning and zoning board this evening, SPR 24-02, petition submitted by Carol Chadwick, acting as agent for Kevin Edenbaugh, owner, for a site plan review for Melrose Place in a residential multifamily 2 zoning district and located upon parcels 13536-005, which is regulated by Land Development Regulations, City of Lake City, Section 4.9.
All right, so this is for,
Oh, he already asked about ex parte.
Yes.
Okay, you're good to go.
so this is for SPR 24-02 on parcel number 13536-005. It is a site plan review to approve a multifamily unit complex they're looking to put there. It will be conducive to use per the LER section 4.9.2.3, as this property is already zoned for residential multifamily 2, which allows up to 20 dwelling units per acre. That does have a residential high density on it.
All right, just for the sake of the board and for the record, this was heard as a replatting how long ago, and can you give us just a little update of how that went for the record?
So this was heard back in the first week of January as a replat. That was approved by the board. That also went in front of the city council and was read in February 5th, I believe it was, at the city council meeting, and was approved by the city council as the replat.
And was that approval by city council unanimous?
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else from Mr. Angela? All right, thank you for the introduction. All right, Ms. Carroll, come on down. You swear the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
You know the drill.
Carol Chadwick, 1208 Southwest Fairfax Glen, Lake City, Florida.
to try to accomplish this evening?
We are asking for approval for the site plan for the plat for Melrose Place that was recently approved by City Council. You have in front of you the construction documents for it. The biggest challenge was grading, which we've accomplished so that none of the adjacent properties will be affected by any stormwater runoff. We did some more research after the last meeting, and per the original rezoning ordinance, there is no cultural site on this property. In fact, when it was rezoned, it was actually rezoned for up to 157 units. It was this property and the one across the street, which we are not proposing to do anything with. The owner does not own that. So they approved it for 157 dwelling units, which would create 880 peak PM trips. The part that we're proposing is only at 93 peak trips per day. I'm not sure if you have any other questions for me. I mean,
One of the major comments that was made the last time you appeared, you just touched on it briefly, the additional regrading that took place out of the property to address some of the hydrological issues.
well, yes, there was a water line leak in the road. It was not a natural spring, and it has been repaired. I was just out there this morning. And there does not, I'm looking at it, I did not see any groundwater activity. So, I mean, it was regraded when it was cleared, a slight amount, but it was nothing was piled up higher than the adjacent grade. I know that someone had made a comment that there was mud running into their yard, which it was not graded that way. There was a low spot, but that has since been regraded.
Okay, anything else?
No, any questions for me?
Questions for agent from members of the board? All right, seeing and hearing none, may be seated.
I would just like to add one
Yes.
thing though. This site plan does meet all of the City of Lake City Land Development regulations requirements. And that we just ask that you approve it because we have met everything as it's spelled out by the city.
And just for my own math, you said originally this series of now separately platted parcels when it was one individual parcel. The city council had approved it through rezoning for 157.
Originally, that
Carrying
and the
capacity.
parcel next door, yes.
And the current proposed carrying capacity you guys are gonna be looking at is,
32.
okay, so that is a significant reduction. Okay. All right, you may be seated. We may hear from you again. I remind you, you're still under oath. All right. Let's show of hands.
I'm sorry, I was mistaken. It's only 16 units. I was counting the parking when I was looking at it. It's only 16 units,
16 multi-bedroom units though.
yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair. Just before moving to public comment, given we do have members of the public here, I did want to remind members of the board that opinion testimony can only
The mic, not to me.
opinion testimony can only be received from witnesses who are qualified as experts in the field in which they're offering an opinion. So just keep that in mind as you're weighing the testimony you're about to receive.
And then there's something I have to add as well. Okay, so as a member of the public coming to speak that may not have a degree in planning, but is coming to speak would I be correct in assuming that even opinions offered by a lay member of the public as it relates to section 13.11.3 that we all had to get very, very familiar with during the Circle K negotiations and testimony, where it came up that in subpart 10, everything will be compatible and harmonious with properties in the general area and will not be in conflict with other developments of the area so as to cause substantial depreciation of values, be they property, historic or otherwise. A local resident would, in effect, be speaking as an expert of what an additional development may do to their neighborhood. That's correct, right?
So an individual could testify as to specific facts that would allow the board to draw that conclusion itself in item 10, but they could not draw that conclusion as a member of the public. So they could offer testimony that would, I'm trying to think of an example, but
Circle K was a pretty big example.
right, but I'm trying to think in terms of a residential, and this ties into item 9 as well, but there is, and I don't know if this is the case or not, so I want to qualify, but there is no recreational facility associated with this, and as a result, it would leave a vacancy and opportunities for recreational opportunities for the residents of the development. If it's not there, they can't use it. That's a fact. Whether this board then wanted to say that it would create issues of compatibility and harmoniousness with properties in the area would be for this board to conclude. So individuals can testify to facts, but they, unless they're qualified in planning and compatibility of uses, they can't offer an opinion that is incompatible or inharmonious.
Wouldn't the residents of the neighborhood be experts in the harmony of the neighborhood?
They can testify as to the character of their existing
there you
neighborhood.
go.
So, but again, you would have to draw the conclusion based on the information as to whether the new development is harmonious with the existing character of their neighborhood.
Just want to make sure we're not shutting anyone out that
It's
wants
a
to have
fine
the
line,
opportunity to
but-
speak.
Right, it's a fine line, and they can speak, and people can offer opinions if they choose to. But the board could not use them as a basis for your ultimate conclusion.
Unless it is founded in LDR.
And unless they are an expert in the field on which they are testifying.
Is anyone in this room an expert in the field by your supposition, or are we about to hear nothing but opinion we need to disregard?
No, so for example, being an expert doesn't necessarily require letters after your name. It's been generally held, for example, that a person can testify to the value of their own property. They know the inherent qualities of the property that they own. They don't have to have an appraiser certificate to render an opinion about the value and qualities of their own property. But it would require an appraiser certificate to render an opinion as to the value of someone else's. That's a common example of, a layperson can testify to certain things and be qualified as an expert in certain areas. You don't have to have a degree or credentials or anything like that, but in the area you're going to offer an opinion on, you do need to be able to establish that you have certain unique knowledge and expertise in that field.
All right, so that's clear as mud to everyone, right? Everyone will get the opportunity to speak. I am pretty sure just about everyone still remaining in this room is here for this petition. The way we usually run this, if you've ever been to one of my meetings before, I do not like using that clock except when we're in a situation where we have an intervening party and we are letting the lawyers run the show. So we will start down here on the aisle in the front row. I'll keep moving back an aisle and through the room. If you'd like to speak, come up, you'll get sworn in. If you do not choose to speak, go ahead and just shake your head and I'll point to the next individual. Ma'am? Ma'am? Sir? Jumping back one row, Mr. Sylvester? Now, mind you, you are still under oath from your previous testimony.
Mr. Chairman, you asked me to participate in more of your meetings because you promised me that they would not be like city council meetings. And now they're becoming worse with the attorney. I'm out. I love the way y'all run the show, but if this is the way it's gonna be, and now the attorney is setting new rules as to how this has comfortably been going, public input don't matter, you gotta be an expert. And so everybody might as well just leave the room and leave him in here. He's the only one that's got a degree in law. And I guess whatever anybody else say, you got a discount. So it just trumps the whole First Amendment, trumps the whole way you've been doing things. And it doesn't give the developer a fair chance. It's whack. And for those reasons, I'm out.
Right, moving second row, Carol, you spoke. Jumping back to the third row, sir.
Can I reserve the right to go last? I'm the owner of the contractor, in case they have any, questions, concerns at the end.
Okay, coming across the aisle, Ms. Lumley. And I remind you, you are still under oath.
Yes, sir, I remember. I rode through the neighborhood after the first meeting, and I see the concerns that have been addressed. And with the additional traffic, my question is, would the road be repaved or enhanced because of the increased usage? That's my question.
Sycamore, Sycamore.
And that would fall under Public Works then, this particular board.
What works in city council?
So the developer wouldn't be required to,
It's a public thoroughfare. The developer wouldn't be the party responsible for reinforcing a public thoroughfare.
okay, thank you.
All right, from her row, moving over, ma'am, sir. Swear the testimony you're about to give before this board, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very nice. Name with spelling and address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Jeremiah, Jeremiah, McKinnis, MCINNIS, 678 Eloise Avenue, Lake City. I'd just like to say first, I mean, I understand the spirit of where you're coming from, but I feel that if you're gonna hold a public forum and state that only experts can give an opinion that can be considered by the board, then you're significantly undermining the point of a public forum and the point of having citizens come to give their thoughts
Please
on
don't
these
address
things.
your, address through me,
All right.
don't address
No
it
worries.
directly.
No worries. But I think that's a ridiculous qualifier for a public forum. I think that citizens should have the right to come and give their opinion, and that should be considered by the board. I just want to say two things about the proposed development. I was here at the last meeting and talked to y'all a little bit about it. And the first is that that area back there, again, I live in the neighborhood next door to this neighborhood, and I and my grandkids walk through there frequently on our afternoon walks, so I'm very familiar with the neighborhood. There is a significant amount of groundwater coming up, whether it's pipe leaks, as Ms. Chadwick has mentioned, or spring water. There are significant areas where I have seen water flowing from the ground multiple places. Additionally, I'm not sure what type of stormwater runoff study or drainage study has been done there, but there is significant drainage down to Alligator Lake from this area. And I would
feel that that should be necessary before moving forward with a big development of this type. And when I say big development, I'm just talking in the context of the surrounding neighborhood. The surrounding neighborhood has, I believe, 27 homes, maybe 28, something like that. So this addition with, I believe, 14 proposed dwellings will significantly change the character of this neighborhood. You know, I live in a area that's mixed use zoning, and I am not a fan of mixed use zoning. I think from history, the mixed use zoning designation for this neighborhood was put through under significant opposition from the residents 20 years or so ago. And there is significant opposition to this development. If this were 6 plats with single family homes on them, the residents there would have no problem with this, I'm sure. But when you add what is essentially about 50 to 60% increase in size of this neighborhood, which is about 6 homes to a street, very quiet neighborhood, it's going to significantly change the character of this area. And in my opinion, it's not going to be a change for the better, having already lived in a mixed use zoning neighborhood. Again, I appreciate your time. Thank you for the board.
So from where he was seated, we'll jump back a row. Sir? Swear testimony you're about to give before this board this evening to the best of your knowledge and ability is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address and record for Mr. Angelo.
Brian Wilson, Bryan, Wilson, 1082 Southeast Violet Place, Lake City. The only thing I wanted to mention, since everything's already been hashed over and over, there was mention on the grading of the property. I own the property right at the southwest corner of existing homes. To say that it's graded the way it was effectively, the southwest corner of the property in question was built up probably by a couple of feet from where it used to be. I know that because that was effectively my backyard for 27 years. And from my yard, it sloped down all the way to the back roadway. Water ran that way, and as well as off the corner. And now you can stand at the corner of my yard and look out towards the corner where the entrance to the domiciliary is, and it's considerably higher. We just haven't had a big rainfall, hardly 2 or 3 of them in the period since that was leveled and cleared. But the rainfalls we have had, water, I've got 4 to 6 inches of standing water in my backyard when it rains hard now. Never happened before. And that's just because it was graded up onto that corner, the southwest corner of the property. So to say that the grading was the way it was before is incorrect. I'm not an expert in that field, but like I said, I've lived in that house for 27 years, and that's been our backyard where the deer come in every night to feed, and a flock of turkeys comes in every day. You know, it's going to affect a lot of things that are really shouldn't be messed with. And as far as the springs go, I believe that issue is going to be addressed shortly. but there are definitely springs in the neighborhood. One of them at the top of the hill where Magnolia Loop turns off at Sycamore was dug up by the city. They dropped in culvert to redirect it out of the middle of the road, and then they capped that back off, blacktopped over it, and you can see the water. You walk down the hill, down the sidewalk, you can see the water pouring out from under the road, and a little ditch that they dug back to the creek. The creek that, by the way, 20 years ago, you could walk through that property on the west side of Sycamore, walk out there and step across the creek. Now it's about a 20-foot crevice. So it's changed a lot. That's not gonna make it better. They're diverting water out from under the street, and there's several wet places still. And it's, seepage springs is what it is, but it's all the time. There's water coming out from places in the road all the time. This has been a really dry spell lately. You go down there right tomorrow morning, go look. There's water coming out from the bottom up to the top. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. From where he was seated, ma'am? Ma'am? You swear the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record.
Rebecca Morgan, R-E-B-E-C-C-A, Morgan, M-O-R-G-A-N, 1124 Southeast Magnolia Loop, Lake City. I am a realtor in this area, so I can speak for what it could do to our property values. But I'm gonna go with what I wanted to come with, make sure I get to say what I wanna say. As I come to you as my fellow neighbors and peers, I ask that this board fully considers the impact that approving these plans will have on our neighborhood, community, and natural resources. When I purchased my home in this neighborhood nearly 10 years ago, I had no idea the natural hills, underground springs, and closeness to Alligator Lake would have so much impact on my property. As a community, we always boast about the natural resources, the beauty of our springs, rivers, and lakes, and the recreation they provide to us. These resources must be protected, especially in these sensitive areas. During the December 5th meeting regarding this development, the only justification provided was that our community needs more affordable housing. During Ms. Chadwick's rebuttal at the meeting, she stated, "They're not doing this as an affordable complex." Then how will this help our community? It won't. The only one that will benefit from this development is the developer, who bought a piece of land that was zoned that he wanted, but he didn't do his homework on it. This is not the first fight this neighborhood has had regarding this property, and I'm sure it won't be the last. Most people's largest investment is their home. My family and most of my neighbors have owned our homes for many years. We have made improvements. We take pride in our ownership. If this board approves this development, my neighborhood and the environment will be the ones paying the price. Please understand, I'm not against growth and development in the community. I absolutely welcome it. What I don't agree with is the lack of planning going into the community's growth. A multifamily complex this size does not belong in an established single-family neighborhood. Thank you.
Right, from where she was seated, moving to my right, your left, ma'am. You swear that the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, name with spelling, legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Nancy Rogers, Nancy Rogers, 1097 Southeast Violet Place, Lake City, Florida. Debbie Charles, who is my next door neighbor, was not able to be here tonight because she's sick. She's the one that spoke at the last meeting about the arrowheads. She asked me if I would submit some pictures to you all of some arrowheads that have been found on the property. So I have those for you if you would like to have them.
If you could, please place those in the custody of Mr. Angelo, and Mr. Angelo, will you please assign a evidentiary nomenclature to those items?
Yes, it'll be Exhibit A.
Exhibit A, very nice. You may approach ma'am and hand those to Mr. Angelo.
There's actually 6 for each one of them. Okay. There's a lot of people that are gonna talk tonight, so I'll be brief and I'll be quick. My house sits on the middle strip that runs down, I have Violet in front of me, and then I have Magnolia Loop behind me, and then the Magnolia Loop to the far side of me. When our houses were built several years ago, mine was built in '96, they were built on a clay foundation. Then they discovered there were springs. We've had several situations where the springs, my house itself has shifted so much, and the only correction for it at this point, it's not a sinkhole. The only correction for it at this point is to bring someone in that can jack it up and level it all out, which is about a $30,000 job. As we walked past the other day, we all walk the neighborhood. We're a very friendly neighborhood. We all walk and greet one another. The new construction that has just gone up down the road, there's a spring in the front yard of that property. You can see it from the road, and it's all over. And there is relevant. This is not a hole that's opened up that was city water flowing out. This is a bubbling spring that is running in, and it needs to be explored and it needs to be protected. Thank you.
All right, please hold your position for a sec. Can we pass Exhibit A down the rostrum so we can look at it while the introducer of that piece of evidence is still at the podium?
Deborah had her house built.
And under oath, you
Yes.
affirm that these were collected from
From
the
her
target-
backyard, yes.
From the target property?
Yes,
Not from
yeah.
your backyard or her backyard, but from
From the target property
proposed
behind it,
property.
yes, yes. And she said she would sign an affidavit to that.
Does anyone have any questions in regards to the evidence just recently submitted and entered into the record for the current commenter? They can stay down at this end. They'll probably have to mark them or.
One question, have these arrowheads been authenticated in any way?
No, sir, they were just collected on the site, and that's been a few years ago. It's been done, since they've come in and done the grade, nobody's been back there to look. But yes, those were collected back there. And according to Deborah, she was told that at one time, the history of the Indians living right there, because Alligator Lake came all the way up, and that was the area that they camped to access the water. So that's why there were so many of the arrowheads that were found there.
All right, anything else for our current commenter? You may be seated.
Thank you.
All right, so from where she was seated, moving to your left, my right, sir, on down. You swear the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Jeffrey Patrick, JEFFERY, PATRICK, 689 Sycamore Terrace, Lake City, Florida.
Mr. Angelo? All right, now you go.
I don't have really much to say, besides echoing, concerns about possible property value, maybe possibly dropping off because of this. I'm not an expert, but I'm just concerned as a concerned homeowner in the neighborhood. I will say my house is, through the past, is on 3 jacks because of the shifting ground. It's not a sinkhole or nothing like that. So there's issues definitely with springs in the area or water in the area. I just like to have that in consideration. That's about all I've got.
Thank you. All right, crossing over the aisle, ma'am. Swear the testimony you're about to give this evening before this board, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record.
Jane, Jane Blaze, Blais, 252 Riverview Circle, High Springs, Columbia County. Thank y'all. I'm just here in the spirit of perhaps promoting more environmentally friendly development in the future. We all know that this water is draining not only to Alligator Lake, which I hike frequently, but ultimately to the Ichetucknee. And it just seems like development is going at a rapid pace without really much thought into preventing environmental catastrophe. Things that concern me are the changing of the topography, these huge concrete footprints. I feel very sympathetic to the residents. I would want single-family homes surrounding my single family. But ultimately, this is from an expert from the EPA. Rainwater polluted with concrete wash water percolates down through the soil, alters the soil chemistry, inhibits plant growth, contaminates the groundwater. Its high pH increases the toxicity of other substances. People wash their cars, so on and so forth. People have a footprint, and we aren't really seeming to try to deal with that. That's my concerns, is that for the future, maybe we can do better.
Thank you. And I have a sneaking suspicion you have an exhibit you would like to enter. All right, let's take care of this part first.
All right. Let's take care of that first. I'll let the audience see what my exhibit's gonna be, and I'll let you guys see it. So,
You swear that the testimony you're about to give this evening before this board, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
yes, sir.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Merrilee M. Gibson.
You can put the hand down.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
MERRILLEEM JIPSON 460 Southwest Riverland Court, Fort White, Florida.
Oh, hold on. You're good? All right. Mr. Angelo, can we have a lot number assigned to this exhibit? Exhibit B. And will this be retained here as part of the record, or will we need to have a copy of this digitally entered into the record of this meeting?
I'm willing to retain it for your future use. Okay? This is called a LiDAR. This is a map that was created by the Suwannee River Water Management District of the Ichetucknee Trace. The last time I was in this room, I was in an Ichetucknee partnership meeting. The partnership, as you know, was established here in Lake City to really define the Ichetucknee Trace for businesses and for residents alike. It was run by a lot of very professional people that you would probably call experts. I sat in those meetings from 2006 and many other government meetings associated with water since that time period. I'm a board member with our Santa Fe River. We created an organization down at the bottom of your county, down where I live, at the bottom of the water trail for the basin, for also the Ichetucknee Basin and the Santa Fe River Basin included. We started that organization because we realized developments were actually damaging our waterways, more in particular, our Florida Spring waterways. The Florida Springs are some of the most sought after and interesting places on our planet, and they exist in your area, in your purview. The development project that we're discussing at this moment, I was brought into on Thursday. Residents called me. I asked them, why are you calling me in terms of your expert accountability? And they said they had heard that I might be able to help them regarding their water issues associated with this particular neighborhood in Lake City that was going to have a new high-density residential development in an area that was within their area that they knew they had flowing spring water in their property area. Okay. Alligator Lake. Reddish ridge there, that area that kind of is undulating, is the Cody Escarpment. In that area, you have grooves cut into your landscape associated with water flow. In this particular area, you have at least 3 active springs. I had to call Dr. Bob Knight when I was done with my work because I'm an expert, but I'm not that much of an expert. I'm not a scientist. I lean on our scientists that we work with directly as an advisor of our organization and said, what kind of spring is this? I haven't heard about freshwater springs in this region of the Springs Heartland. He said immediately, these are seepage springs, and I have walked that area. I know that area very well. So if you needed an expert opinion about these, there are several. Dr. Sam Upchurch might be another one. He works directly with Alachua County. Some of the hydrogeologists in the areas too would also be able to help you identify more about what you're talking about when you're talking about developing in these ridges. So, to make a long story short, I do have written comments, opinions, I guess, in some ways, but also ideas on our website to save some time on our Santa Fe River's website, because I don't think it's going to change what's going to happen today. But I do hope that it changes what happens in the future, because like your developer people have said, they have everything in place for their permitting except one. They didn't tell you this maybe. They don't have the environmental resource permit from the Water Management District yet. They have the land cleared. You can see that in the Google map. You can see all of the vegetation that some of these people talked about. In fact, when those arrowheads were found, they were probably found underneath the understory of the brush that was on that property 2 years ago. That has been since cleared, as you heard testimony from your developer. He's actually also tried to level the land in a way that is inefficient, I should say, for what the water flows are in that region. And you heard the testimony from the neighbor across the contiguous with him that's already having standing water issues. You have an area there that has the most incredible water flow that I've seen in a long time. And the property across Magnolia, Southeast Magnolia Loop, that's on the other side of where this property is being developed. No, I'm sorry, that's not right. I'm trying to get the names straight. Sycamore, thank you. On the opposite side of Sycamore, there's a groove cut into the landscape from almost what looks like a karst window. You can see the water at the top of this opening crevice, and you can see the flowing water cut through the landscape. And the water that we're seeing now in this development from 1947, which is also a really interesting document. They already had figured out in 1947 that they weren't going to build it.
Are you proposing to enter that into
Yes,
evidence
let's
as well?
add that. That's a good idea.
Please hand that to Mr. Angelo. He will assign it a lot number, and then he will pass it down for the board of review.
Thank you. That was actually a plat record from 1947.
Movements, you can pick that mic up.
Oh, I can move around. Thank you.
It has a clip. You can grab it.
They can see the map.
I'm trying to like hustle through my comments here. I'm not really trying to hold up your meeting. I'm just trying to get you guys to think, and ladies, please, to think about your future in land use development in Lake City, because like I said, this is the Ichetucknee Trace. This is the beginning, the headwaters of the Ichetucknee, the prize jewel for the state of Florida, your economic engine. The Tourism Council calls themselves Springsland. There's all of this incredible history around freshwater springs in your purview. And you're getting ready to, once again, because it's happened many times already, we know where the developments have gone, where they shouldn't have gone. We really do. So we have to think about our future, and I'm going to give you the LiDAR map. This is actually for another development project that was equally as damaging on the Ichetucknee Trace, and you can learn about that when you read my stuff in there. I mean, there's nothing to read other than where it was located. But the trace is really important. This waterway that you're seeing with that really dark blue line in the center of that map, that's the trace. It's not just the river. It's a trace. It's a water flowing system, not only underground, surface water, groundwater. It's all commingling, but it's all going down. And where is it heading to? But those beautiful, luxurious springs that you all have grown up in, you've been baptized in, you've had your grandchildren's there. And for the future of your generations, because we all know that most of the generations here want to stay. They don't want to go anywhere, and they want to stay because it's so beautiful too. So for the future generations, please think of how you develop with these water resources. And also for your residents that have already spoken, they have erosion issues and runoff issues, serious. The roads in that area, you guys were looking at this, man, about the roads. The roads in that area, I have photographs of all of the layers of asphalt that's continuously placed in the same areas because they're constantly breaking apart. And you put that many more people, 93 more people, 83, whatever it was, more people on the road in those places, you're just gonna have more repairs. What has to happen is those flows have to naturally be protected. Instead of covering up and saying that they're a broken water main, which they're not, and instead of putting houses on them, which just happened the other month or so, you've got 2 new houses in an area that would never have been developed. You all know that. There are 2 houses there, y'all. You can see the water flowing around them, under them, all over. You see the rooftops are actually kind of buckling. Y'all, just rethink about what you're building in that particular neighborhood and others that are in these types of areas of Lake City.
Thank you. Right. I can't see around the LiDAR. Can we take that down? Want to make sure I'm pointing to everyone I can.
Can I have another comment?
Can you wait till the end?
Yes.
Everyone gets a first chance to speak first, and we may do some go backs. Okay, so jumping back a row, ma'am? Sir? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give this evening before this board, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So help me God.
Very nice.
Dan Gerna, G-H-E-R-N-A, 1201 Magnolia Loop. I didn't come to talk about this, but I was kind of flummoxed when Ms. Chadwick talked about what was it, 186? What was that approved for?
157 dwelling units.
Was that in 135-36005, that same strip?
Please direct your.
I'm sorry, I'm asking her this question because I have a feeling that this parcel 135-36005 is separated by it does not have the same ingress and egress. There's a creek that runs, it's on the other side of Sycamore. There's a creek that runs down there. I know that was zoned at one time for, I think they were gonna do, assisted living facility. I'm not sure what happened with that, but, so it might have been approved, but the traffic was not approved for another 186 parcel or units. And which brings me to what I want to talk about. You know, I just want to talk about the site plan. I think it's irresponsible not to address ingress and egress.
I want to tell you about an incident that happened about a month ago. An individual across the street from me took his life. We had first responders on both sides of the street. You couldn't get another first responder in there. And there was no way out. And until you address ingress and egress, there's got to be another way out to put in 60% more individuals in that neighborhood. There is a cut on Violet Street that goes out, but it doesn't go anywhere. You could maybe take something up through Chum's property that goes out to what is that street? Eloise. But until that happens, you can't cram that many people into that subdivision. We've had trees fall, you can't get in and out. I don't know what else to say. I'm asking you, don't approve that plan until this is addressed. Everybody else has covered the water situation, so I'm not gonna get into that. But I do thank all of you for your time. I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we've moved through everyone. Ms. Lemley, you had one go back before we speak with the GC?
Yes, the water issues several years ago. I looked at purchasing a property and I had someone come out and said, hey, this wouldn't be good because you're gonna have shifting, you're gonna have to spend a lot of money to keep it level. So I'm not an expert, but those are major concerns. And what Mr. Werner said about ingress, egress, that's something that the land development regulations should look into. Thank you.
All right. You swear the testimony you're about to give this evening before this board to the best of your knowledge and ability is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Very nice. Name with spelling, address of record, and also how you are associated with this undertaking.
Perfect. Kevin, K-E-V-I-N, Bedenbaugh, B-E-D-E-N-B-A-U-G-H, 232 Northwest Chadley Lane, Lake City, Florida, 32025. Excuse me, 32055. I am not only the GC, I am the owner of the property also, one of the owners of the property. To address a lot of the comments and concerns which happened here tonight. I'm trying to go back, I think with Mr. Wilson maybe, his concern with 4 to 6 inches of water in his, where he's sitting, he's at the top of the hill. If he had 4 to 6 inches of water at the top of the hill, people at the bottom probably had 3 or 4 feet of water as the slope goes, if that was the case. But one of the concerns in which I have is if we were doing single family dwellings in there, there would be no concerns over traffic or anything. There's no rules or regulations which binds a house of how many people can come in and out of the property on a given basis. We could go in there and put more dwellings on the piece than what we're asking for with 6 dwellings here. They cannot dictate how many people can go. I can't go and dictate how many people go in and out of their house on a given day. That's up to the resident. We're not here to rezone, we're just putting the plat in place is all we're trying to accomplish here. So as for the dwellings of, or the traffic issues going in and out, we're under what was asked whenever it was platted the first time, or not platted, excuse me, when it was rezoned the first time. But as for a single family dwelling, we wouldn't have the issues of questions concerned of arrowheads and or traffic. As for arrowheads, we dig footers all the time, all over the county, and we've hit them south of town, we've hit them north of town. We just put a parking lot in a commercial dwelling, we get an arrowhead. As we know, we live in Florida, there's many tribes, many Indians. We're not here digging up arrowheads or looking for arrowheads. So according to the historical records, we're not in a historical district of known plat area which house at this time. We definitely don't want to disturb anything. As for the water issues or clay or shifting, there's protocols in the Florida Building Code in which if we find clay that we have to dig it so far down We'd have to come back, compact it up, get an inspection, get a compaction test and everything. So as for, there is protocols on what we have to do for the foundations of these dwellings. My largest concerns here is, I do understand people are worried about the impact of the roads going in and out. But again, if it was a single family dwelling, we wouldn't even be here tonight. There's no impact on that. As for the grading of how it sits right now, it's not the grading of what it's going to be. There is a plan put in with a proper grading, proper slopes, the proper drainage, which is required. And we all meet the regulations and which is put forward for that. We're trying to develop something here to give people a place to stay, which is needed. We're not wanting to put vinyl sided, just throw something up and just cram people in. These will be nice dwellings. They will be maintained. There will be restrictions and stuff enforced on the lease agreements. These are not going to be just some fly by the night going. Me and my partner both, which is my cousin, we grew up here. You know, our families is some of the first ones in the county. We're not here to diminish anybody's property values. We're not here to diminish Lake City. We both born and raised here. We both want to stay here for many generations to come. This is something in which we're trying to do to develop some more areas for people to go. I got 3 calls. I have a house that I just moved to a new house. In my old house, just last week I had 3 people call me looking for a place to rent on it because I haven't sold it yet. So it's not that we're just some fly-by-the-night group trying to come in, throw something up to make some money. We have been here for a long time. We want to keep the value up. Again, we're not here to try to rezone this. We're just trying to put a plat in order on what we're trying to accomplish. Again, I want to reassure that these will be nice dwellings. So they're not just some throw something up and start collecting it. They'll be done in very good taste and kept up in very good taste. Thank you.
Actually, going back down, I do have a question for you before you see it. It was mentioned by one of the commenters that you are still waiting for a permit from the Water Management District.
No, sir, I don't believe we fall underneath the realm of having to do it for square footage of the lot. Isn't that correct, Carol?
Yes.
Okay, so there's no
There's
requirement
no-
for a Water Management District approval on this. All right, at this time, is there anyone else that has not yet had the opportunity to speak that would like to either speak for or against petition SPR 24-02 as presented by the petitioner and then voted by the owner and GC? All right, seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to close public comment on this petition?
Motion. Move to close public comment.
And McCellum, by hand sign to close public comment. Aye. Hands down, likewise opposed. All right, at this time, public comment is closed. Discussion amongst members of the board and city departments. So Public Works didn't have any comments on the staff review. They have a lot, I mean, obviously this is the second time we've heard this. Do we know that Public Works had the opportunity to investigate some of the comments and concerns these same individuals had made last time in reference to hydrology, surface water runoff, et cetera, how that'll play into the Public Works realm of this project?
I do not know if Public Works has or has not. The only thing I know is what they commented on the staff review.
Okay. Oh, no, that's growth management. Okay. Mr. Young, have you talked to anyone over at Public Works? Did they have the opportunity to review the previous testimony for certain point-specific issues that some of these residents have?
No, sir, they did not.
Okay. Looking at the staff review.
Florida Department of Transportation, they got approval.
Pardon me?
Florida Department of
Into
Transportation.
the mic so everyone can hear you.
Florida Department of Transportation, they got approval.
Given the overall square footage, you guys didn't have to go through DOT for your carrying capacity, right? You were able to self-affirm. That number came in at what, about 93 cars per day? Anything else from the board? Anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Angelo, Mr. Young? Anything come up here recently with growth management that you'd like to weigh in on?
No, sir.
All right, well, hearing and seeing no additional comment from members of the board or city departments, at this time, do we have a motion to either approve, disapprove, or table SPR 24-02 as submitted by Ms. Chadwick as agent of owner?
I'll move to approve SPR 24-02.
And on the motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And Mr. Nelson on the second. We have a motion and a second on the floor for approval of SPR 24-02. Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yeah.
Mr. McMahon?
Yes.
And Mr. Leidick?
Subject to some additional internal questions I would have as it relates to section 10.11.6, subpart 18, just regarding the Cultural Resources Act side of this, I would vote nay on this. However, that vote is not enough to overturn the preponderance of the board. Therefore, by non-unanimous decision, petition SPR 24-02 as submitted by Ms. Chadwick is approved. Congratulations. At this time, do we have any workshop items for the good of the Planning and Zoning Board? Anything growth management, Mr. Angelo, or our esteemed council would like to bring up before we call a motion to adjourn? All right, seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn Planning and Zoning March 5th, 2024? Please take your conversations outside into the lobby if you would. Mr. Nelson with the motion, was that Mr. McMahon on the second? Ms. McKellen had it second. By hand sign for adjournment? Hands down, likewise opposed. Planning and zoning is adjourned. Ma'am? We're about to move into our next meeting.
Oh, okay. Let's go home.
This time I call to order Board of Adjustments, City of Lake City, March 5th, 2024. Our roll call shall remain the same. Electronically, our meeting minutes from session of February 6th, 2024 was distributed to all members. I trust that everyone had the opportunity to review those. This time, are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes as presented?
None.
Seeing and hearing none, do I hear a motion for their adoption?
Motion to adopt minutes.
Second.
Nelson and McMahon on the second. By hand sign? Hands down, likewise opposed. We have meeting minutes approved. We have no old business on the agenda, no new business on the agenda. As far as workshop items go, do we have anything from members of the board that we'd like to discuss for the benefit of the board, or from Mr. Angelo, Mr. Young, or our esteemed council?
Nothing from council.
All right, seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn Board of Adjustment?
Motion to adjourn, Board of Adjustment.
Second.
Mr. Nelson and Mr. McMahon on the second by hand sign. Aye, hands down, likewise opposed. All right, unanimously, we are adjourned from Board of Adjustment. time I call to order Historic Preservation Agency, City of Lake City, March 5th, 2024. Our roll call shall remain the same. Likewise to our previous session, meeting minutes were electronically distributed in reference to our February 6th, 2024 meeting. Trust everyone had the opportunity to review those as they were submitted. This time, are there any proposed additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes as sent out electronically? Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion for their adoption? Mr. McCallum?
Second.
And Mr. Nelson on the second. By hand sign? Hands down, likewise opposed. Unanimously, meeting minutes of February 6, 2024 are approved. We have no old business to come directly before this board. We have no new business to come directly before this board. Moving to the consent agenda, an item that was determined not to constitute a major review requiring a COA hearing and administratively determined to be relegated to our consent agenda. Mr. Angelo. Oh, wait, I can't do that. Would you please swear him in since we're in a separate session?
You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you.
All right, will you please introduce to us the items on the consent agenda?
Yes. So we have one item on the consent agenda. It is for COA 24-08 and is located at 117 Southeast Nassau Street. That is the, more notably, the commercial building right there on the corner, and they're redoing all the roofs on that section. And they are repairing and replacing the current roof with a new TPO roof. And that roof is down below where it is viewable and from the public. The only way you would see it is, from an aerial view.
All right, it's all flat roofing, but it all rests below the level of a established parapet?
Correct.
Okay, there we go. All right, so this was determined to fall into the category of minor work as far as the COA goes, and as the administrator, you went ahead and deemed that this could move forward on its own merits.
Yes, based on that it's not going to be seen from the public.
And I would tend to agree with that. All right, any questions or comments for Mr. Angelo? All right, seeing and hearing none, you sit down, and once he gets seated, do we have a motion to ratify the consent agenda as presented by city staff?
Move to ratify agenda as presented by city staff.
Second. Motion to ratify with a second from Mr. McMahon. Mr. Angelo, will you call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
And Mr. Lyden?
Move to ratify, yes. All right, very good. Consent agenda, including item COA 24-08, has been approved or has been ratified. Any workshop items for members of the board to discuss? Anything from you, Mr. Angelo? Anything, Mr. Young? Nothing coming around the horn?
Nothing.
All right. Well, I do have one thing I would like to bring up now that you've been to more than just one of these. We've seen how a relatively non-contentious one goes. Do you have any additional notes on policy or procedure that can keep us moving in a streamlined fashion such as we did this evening?
Not at this time. I still, I want to go through a couple more and maybe come prepared with some written proposals to consider whenever we're at that juncture.
All right, but you're not ready to throw your hands up and say these people are hopeless.
Oh, nowhere near hopeless.
All right, that's good to hear. I'll take that as a victory.
Right. No, probably, and you're not unique in this regard, but at some point it may not hurt to have a workshop to go through the underpinnings of the quasi-judicial process, and I think understanding some of those underpinnings of the process would give context to things like my statement tonight about expert testimony, because that ties in, number one, to established rules of evidence that are adopted for judicial proceedings, number one. Number two, it also ties into, for example, the level of review that you're giving things, where your decisions have to be based on evidence that is competent and substantial. And particularly when we're talking about expert testimony and the giving of opinion evidence, that ties into the competent prong of that two-prong level of review that you're giving the evidence that you're hearing. And so, I kind of want to hear and see where you are as a body. Perhaps wait until we get the new board members that hopefully are going to come along, and that may be a good time once those folks are seated to then sit down as a group and maybe have a workshop on that. And we've got a presentation that we can give that we use for other bodies on all the subjects.
All right. That being said, you did mention when we get a new member, I just want to remind all members of this board, and I guess workshops best place to do it. No one's allowed to get sick at the next meeting. We've got 4 of us here, and if any of you are sick, we send everybody home. So, take your vitamin C, be well, get some exercise. And anyone watching at home, please contact the city clerk's office if you yourself would like to join this board, and we'd love to have you on if you meet the criteria. Unless there's anything else, Mr. Angelo?
I will mention that Mr. Carter was the co-chair and vice chair, so we will need to look to also fill that position too.
And that will have to be advertised for our next agenda, correct? Okay. So we will be voting on a chair next time. So even more important, no one gets sick, drink your OJ.
A chair or co-chair?
Or co-chair, sorry.
Changing it.
Did we ever get a decision? Are we moving to Wednesdays or are we maintaining Tuesdays?
I believe that everybody was okay with, was it the second Tuesday? Yes. And so our office is fine moving to the second Tuesday, which I think was the preference of this board.
Second Tuesday, that's right, not a Wednesday, Tuesday. Do we have to do anything in that regard? Does it need to be advertised? Does city council need to officially change it? Do we vote on something? How does that go?
It may not hurt for the record for this board to officially vote to change its meeting time. I'm not aware of your meeting times being mandated by ordinance. And so if you were to just take a vote to reschedule your meeting time and date, or date at least.
And that'll need to be advertised prior to making the vote?
Not necessarily, no. The only requirement is that you notice the meeting. There is no statutory requirement that in and of itself that you notice the particular items you're going to vote on the agenda, except to the extent that they may be a land use action or something like that that has its own specific notice requirement. But, as a matter of sunshine law and open meetings, it doesn't have to be on the agenda. It's generally a housekeeping item anyway, but it's the preference of the board if you wanted to put it on the next agenda to vote on, that would be up to you.
Well, that'll be up to who makes a motion. Do we have a motion to either put it on our next agenda and vote on it, or do we have a motion to adopt a change to the second Tuesdays?
Second Tuesday.
Is that motion or is that question?
Yeah, I move to change our meeting dates and times to the second Tuesday, effective April 9th.
Right, we have a motion and a second from Mr. Nelson to change our regular meetings to the second Tuesday of the month, beginning with our upcoming April meeting, which you said would be the 9th. April 9th. All right, Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yay.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
And Mr. Lively?
Yay. All right, unanimously, we have moved our traditional meeting nights from first Tuesday to second Tuesday. Aside from that, is there anything else for the good of our board that needs to be discussed? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn for the evening.
Motion to adjourn.
No? And Mr. McMahon on the second. By hand vote, aye, hands down, likewise opposed. We stand adjourned. Please cut the audio and the video.
So what are